May God defend the right. Warning, warning.
See how the truck started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone. Well, you would be. When the you get to play smart. You got to be smart when we play smart. And you've got to put your body upon the gears, upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon the narrative, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to win the game. The people want it, the people want it. But I'm not sure that I'm thinking,
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves among the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Fall down the thunder will not you die.
Oceans Radio. Welcome to CryptRick. I've been thinking. What's this show all about? Well, it's all in the title. He enjoys interviewing people about issues that he finds interesting, and which cause him to sit back and think. Cryptocurrency, true crime, natural law, the occult. The topic is off limits here. He always enjoyed when people give their points of view or thoughts on different topics that they have researched. And what makes it all great is that it's their unique take on what is being discussed. For that reason alone, it makes it interesting to him. So take that walk down to his crypt. Make yourself comfortable. Just maybe he will be discussing a topic that you have been thinking about. Here's your host, CryptRick.
Welcome back, everybody. What is it? Of course, it is Monday, and if you're listening, you know that I'm here every Monday for you guys at the same time right here at Revolution Radio, and hopefully you guys are having the start to a great week. As you guys always know, and I tell you all the time that I love Mondays. I'm one of those weird, I love Mondays because it is the start to a new week, new challenges, new goals to achieve, and that's the way I look at Mondays. A lot of people hate Mondays. I get it. Trust me, I get it, guys. Some people, after a weekend, they do not want to get up on a Monday, but I'm just not one of those people. I just love to try to tackle each day, and the start of a new week is a great, little marker point to put the last week behind you and, tackle into a new week of new things, and that's the way I look at it. So hopefully you guys are having the start to a great week. I know where I'm living, at least we finally got snow a few days ago, guys. I tried to give you a quick weather report where I live every week, and we finally got snow. I actually had to go in the shed, dust off the shovel, and bring it out. And it was incredible. We got snow. It's still here even. We're supposed to be getting a little bit more, I think, in the next couple of days, and then the rain comes. So who knows how long it's going to be here, but at least we got some snow, and the temperature has dropped down, and it's starting to at least feel like it should. Like it's like not mild and stuff. Now, who knows what the weather for the next couple of weeks? I have no idea. We're either going to get dumped on, rained on. It's going to be something. I'm hoping we're going to get more snow. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it just feels right, I guess, when you have snow at this time of year, at least where I live. And when we were having just rain and grass still, it was really weird. And I don't know. It was weird to me. So I'm just happy that we got snow, and it's here to stay, at least for today. And who knows? I'll have to give you an update next week. But awesome, guys. I'm really looking forward to this show. And I can't believe we're in 2024. It's amazing. It really is. I kind of still think about that. Like, we've made it here. And then I think about with all the turmoil going on in the world, what 2024 is going to bring. It's going to be an interesting year. That's for sure. I'm sure it's going to be full of surprises. And so I'm really curious and worried. A lot of things my mind has been going to with this start of the year, and it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be something to keep an eye on, and there's just so much going on. When you turn on, you just even look at anything that resembles news, and it's just, the fear is thick. That's all I can say. It is constant. It's just, and then they put in one little good story if you're lucky, somewhere in there, some little story, and they try to cheer the whole thing up, but it's 99%. It's just this fear that they just keep hammering people with, and it's nonstop, as you guys know. I mean, I'm not talking about anything that you guys don't know, but I'd really like to dive into what is what my shows are about, what Jonathan and I shows are about, is that I do know that things are being controlled, that the higher up, these people that they're in charge or want to be in charge, whatever you want to call it, the people that are calling the shots at this time. And I tell you, I really want to dive into this. And that's why I'm really looking forward to having my guest on again. I had her in November, and we got into feminism and relationships. And if you guys really enjoyed that, I got some emails saying that they really enjoyed the conversation. And it was a conversation that at least the people that were talking to me and my guests were saying needs to happen more often. It's a topic that more people want to hear about because apparently not a lot of people are covering it. And I will dive into it. And we did dive into it in that show. So please, I'm going to leave a link in the chat room for all you guys. Hello, everyone in chat. And please go check out her YouTube channel, Love, Truth, and Beauty. And I will, like I said, leave a link. And you can find that interview that I did in November with her, and you can give it a listen. Go in the archive section, you can give it a listen there. But it was a great one. And people, like I said, really seemed to connect with that one. It's a sensitive topic, but apparently people want to hear it. And that was really cool. It was a great conversation. And I'm looking forward to this one. This is another one because how I first met my guest and how their work was I found them on YouTube, and they were about the Matrix. And we've all heard that line at some point. I'm sure all of us have heard it in a podcast, or we've used it ourselves, that we're living in a matrix. And it's so, I just wanted to dive into that because that was one of the first topics I heard my guest speaking about was the matrix. She dives into that, breaks it down. And, I think it's important because we do hear people say that, and we've said it ourselves, I'm sure, at some point or another, that we live in this matrix system. And I want to really let my guest dive into this and break this down. Like, what is this matrix that we're living in? And how is this matrix controlling people? What is their tactics in controlling people and keeping us enslaved into the system? And I think a great way to wrap it up at the second hour is how do we start to break free and remove ourselves from the matrix? And better yet, and I think my guest is going to get into this as well, is that can you get out of the matrix fully? You have to learn to adapt and go in and out of the matrix because the system is so embedded, for lack of a better word. Like it's so in place, this prison system that we're in, that they have us in. And it's so can you actually break out of it fully, or do you have to learn to navigate it? That's the question. So without me babbling enough, and before I get my guest on, I almost forgot. Please donate if you can, guys. Radio Revolution Radio, it's all listener supported, and I always say it because it's so important, is your guys' generosity that keep us doing our shows every day of the week here. We're here 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There are shows going on with some incredible hosts here. They cover so many different topics, so many important topics, and we would not be here without all of you listeners' generosity. There's so many ways you can donate. Just head over to revolution.radio. There's a donation tab at the top, and they got it covered. There's got to be a way that there's direct pay. There is cryptocurrency, if that's your thing. There is Patreon, which is a great one. You set an amount, and then it comes out every month, and they take care of the rest. So that's amazing. And no donation is too small. Trust me, even small ones add up, and then it keeps us all here doing our shows for you guys. And I cannot thank each and every one of you enough for tuning in every week and supporting everybody here at Revolution Radio. Not just me, but all the hosts, because it's incredible. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you that take time out of your day to come and listen to me for a couple hours, because time is precious. People's time is precious. And in my opinion, it is. So anytime that they're willing to come and talk to me or give their opinions, any of that, I really, really do appreciate. And you guys are incredible. I say that at the end of every show. You guys are the greatest. And I mean that so much. You guys are amazing. So with that out of the way, let's get my guest in here once again. Marja West, I'm so excited to get into this. This is how I first work, was you diving into the matrix. So this is a big topic. And we only got 2 hours, but we can get through a lot of it.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I love having you. I've been excited to get you back in here. Like I was saying, our last interview, people really enjoyed them. It was a good one.
I like upsetting the apple cart.
I love it too. Isn't it great?
I really, really, really do. I like to disturb everything because it needs to be disturbed.
Mhm.
And just to your point about whether or not we can extricate ourselves from the matrix, the short answer is no. Because the matrix is almost identical to the true quantum field creation field universe. It's just an inversion. So in essence, what we need to learn to do, we need to learn to wake up, number one. And the waking up portion brings us back and extricates us out of the matrix and into the true quantum field creation field universe. So what we're doing is we're learning how to navigate it, because what is navigating the matrix for consciousness? What is waltzing in and out of the matrix? It is our consciousness. Okay, the matrix looks exactly like the true quantum field creation field universe. But if you don't own your attention, you are in big doo-doo, my friends, because the matrix is going to be using your pains, trauma, suffering, and dramas as triggers to get you to give them your attention, your creativity. It gets you to buy into their belief structures, their emotional shit, their mind controls, their beliefs. They're on and on and on and on and on. And most people are just too, they're too overwhelmed. They're too sound asleep, scrolling on their phones, scrolling on their iPads, scrolling on their devices, getting sucked into a screen, arguing with their mates, rather than paying attention to what's really, really going on. And what's really going on is if you don't own your attention, the matrix does. And if the matrix owns your attention, you are sound asleep at the wheel. You are a zombie. And I'm sorry if people get butthurt when I say that kind of stuff, but it's true. It is absolutely true. And part of the zombie nation, and I want to bring this up because I see this again, whether you are part of New Age BS or the Truth and Freedom movement, the truthers. I mean, no disrespect. People consider me part of the Truth and Freedom community, but in essence, I'm really not, because I am beyond government is slavery. And most people in that community actually believe, they are actually delusional into believing that they are wide awake and conscious because they felt that government is slavery. No, absolutely not. That is just one little dinky, little teeny iota of reality that you are starting to uncover.
Right.
And the main thing is you have to own, not only do you have to own your attention, you have to learn how to wield reality by applying every one of those hermetic principles and wielding your own reality, because we are each creating our own unique layer of the true quantum field creation field universe.
Yeah, you make such great points. And like I said, I wish we had longer than 2 hours. I really do, because it's just it's a huge topic when we talk about the matrix. And I'm glad that we're getting into this, because you cover it so well. And I hope really people will take the link, and please go check out Marja's channel. And I'll make sure I have links to all her other work, so you can go and start checking her out, because she really gets into the matrix, in all aspects of it. And I'm glad that you kind of brought that up, because that's true. A lot of the people in the truth community, they're stuck on this. They realize government slavery, and then they kind of leave it at that. And that's not the whole thing. Yeah.
You have to learn how to build reality such that you can create reality at will, regardless of whatever is going on in the matrix. And the matrix knows all of your sore points. It knows all of your pain, your suffering, your traumas, your dramas. It knows all the little buttons to push to get you pissed off, to get you depressed, to get you suicidal, to get you to want to drink your life away, smoke your life away, snort your life away, pick one, gamble your life away. This is how the matrix wins, okay? And you can't let it do that to you. So you have to understand that every time you get upset, all right, it's usually because your attention is owned by the matrix in the outer screen. So what's important to understand is that we humans, we have 3 attention centers, okay? Only one is awake, and that screen is called our center screen. It is between the outer screen reality. The outer is what you witness, what you hear, what you sense with the limited 5-sense reality of the matrix, okay? That's the outer screen. Whatever's going on in the parking lot at Costco, okay? That's an example right there. Whatever's going on some video that's pissing you off. And the other screen that the matrix loves is our inner screen. It is the stuff going on in our heads. The automated responses, the knee-jerk reactions, the judgments, the criticisms, usually in knee-jerk response to whatever it is you're witnessing in the outer screen. And the middle screen is our awakened reality. Most people don't even know it exists, okay? When you get really good at extricating yourself from the matrix, that is, waking yourself up, seeing reality and realizing, oh my God, I'm sound asleep. Again, waking yourself up and getting back into your center screen where you can witness what's going on in the outer screen and also witness with great consciousness all of your reactivity on the inner screen. You got it going on because it is our consciousness that is walking in and out of the matrix, dancing in and out of the matrix, or crawling on our hands and knees in and out of the matrix. I do all of them, okay? I don't have all this stuff mastered, but I'm pretty good at it because I have learned to utilize my PTSDs. I've said it again, pains, trauma, suffering, and dramas as invitations to wake yourself up. Because if you're immersed in any of that reactivity, you're sound asleep. The matrix has you. And it's so deeply simple, but people can't do it. People can't do it. It's practice. And then
it does take practice. You're absolutely right.
And then you have things like New Age BS that has hijacked the whole thing about spiritual awakening, that it is this one-off event and you have angels, and once you're spiritually awake, everything is perfect. You know, that cellulite on your butt is suddenly gone. You have perfect relationships and you got $1 million in the bank. I mean, stop it, people. No. That's not how it works either, okay? Spiritual awakening is not a one-off event. It is again and again and again and again. It is spiritual martial arts, basically. Energy kung fu.
Yeah.
Reality kung fu. Because you have to practice again and again and again. It's like, I can't tell you how many times, even when I think I realize, wow, the matrix has me. And one of my triggers is when I see people wearing masks. Oh my God. And I got to work on that. I'm working on that. It's like, you know what? And I believe to each their own, my body, my choice. And yet, when I see somebody in a mask, there's this little switch that gets flipped. And I'm a complete biatch from hell. And it's awful. I'm not a good person. And I have to back myself because here's the thing. Here's the thing that is really key. And a lot of people are not going to like it. If you want to extricate yourself from the matrix and own your attention, you have to allow yourself to be different from everybody else and allow everybody else to be different from you.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, kids. And especially in the truther community, yeah, it's our way or the highway. And it's like, hey, good luck. How's that working for you? Okay? Because so many of the truthers, because they cannot wield their reality and they are so immersed in the outer screen and making everybody wrong for whatever, because we're not in the echo chamber of agreement, okay? Any kind of echo chamber where there is agreement, that is just, Heidi, you want no part of it, okay? Don't go there. You don't need to go there. You need to learn how to stand on your own and wield reality. Okay? Because if you're sitting around getting focused in on government slavery and all the shit stems and getting upset, and you're poor and you cannot take care of your family, that is on you. That's not because of the matrix. That's because you don't know how to think properly and use reality. Just because you know these shit stems doesn't mean you have to adhere to them. And the first hermetic principle is the law of mentalism. And that is the most important principle of the Hermetica that you really need to go into and dive into that, because it is going to be life-changing. You will change your reality by being able to mold and wield it to your heart's desire.
Right. No. You're saying so many things that you say them perfectly, and I agree with what you're saying. That especially with there's so much to unpack here with the truth movement. I noticed that too. There's so much infighting going on, and people, I think you bring up a good point that you have to, be comfortable with people being their own person. Like and what's the first thing that people do with something that they don't agree with or makes them uncomfortable? They react, and then they usually try to tear it down or overpower. And I like the way that you said, and that's why I was saying, Marja, that it's complicated in a way because people are complicated. We're all individuals. We're all different. We all got our own things that we're dealing with and all these different circumstances in life. And I when people lose sight of that there's so much going on, and there's a lot of work to be done. And so I just see a lot of communities fighting with each other. And I agree with you too with echo chambers. I've always said very dangerous if you get yourself in one of these echo chambers, and you need to have people question yourself, and you have to be willing to question people and have discussions like we're having. I think that is so healthy.
Yeah. And not care about agreement.
You don't have to agree.
Yeah. Right? It's like, let's agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Because one size does not fit all. And we have over 8 billion people on the planet. That means that there are over 8 billion simultaneous realities in the true quantum field creation field universe, or matrix, whichever one you mostly reside in. And I, for one, do not like being stuck in the matrix. I know what that's like. It's not fun. It's not fun to be at the effect of the outer screen and getting all upset about people in us. It's like, really? Why do I care so much? I trust my immune system. I trust what I'm doing. But, that is just a really petty example of a pet peeve that I have, where my head goes up my butt. Pardon my French. Like, okay, I'm not waiting. I have these critical blah, 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 blah. And I lost.
Yeah. And that's what Marja is that you caught yourself. And that is so, we were talking about this before we went live.
Yeah,
and
it's
I think
that
your phone. And I was telling Marja that at the end of the last year, which is, not long ago, a week ago, that one morning I got up, and the first thing I did as I opened my eyes was I grabbed my phone. And at that moment, it was like, and I still remember it so clearly. I just looked at my wife, and I'm like, I just checked my phone. I've been up for literally a minute. This is not healthy, what I'm doing. What is going on here? And it was that moment I caught myself. And it was like I snapped out of it for 1 second. And now I'm so I'm very conscious now of how much time I'm spending on my phone. And I try to keep it away from me now, to be honest. I'm trying to keep it, I'll check it the odd time, but I'm not on it all the time. But it was that moment that I realized, how many people get up and if they're honest, that's the first thing they do.
Yeah.
Is they grab their phone. And maybe not, maybe I'm one of the weird ones. I don't think I am. I think it's more common than, I think.
No, I watched my guy do it. I know everything is wired for sound, which is why we have different houses. That none of those cyber biatches are talking in my house. There's no Siri, there's no Alexa, there's no Cortana, there's no Erica, or whatever else. No, none whatsoever. Even my car, I chose a car that doesn't have an onboard computer or has one that I can disconnect. I'm not going to be tracked. I'm not into it. Whatever. Some people think, brand new cars with the technology is cool. Good for you. You just go on with your bad stuff. That's what I think. So,
Yeah.
but the phone is really important because technology, my friends, is one of the biggest tools that the Matrix uses against us.
100%.
Where it can be an enhancer of your life or one of the biggest time sucks, energy sucks, creativity sucks, not to mention a financial suck, especially if you're one of those people that are like addicted to buying every new piece technology.
I know people like that.
Because you want to, and you're willing to go into debt. And so this is how our consciousness gets hijacked, okay? It's like whatever you are addicted to, whatever you are avoiding, whatever you are afraid of, okay? We've got a lot of really, really bad, horrific going on in the world. And I have so many friends who are bleeding, they are hemorrhaging their life force, their blood, their time, their creative energy on these situations. And this is what they're doing with their time. And they think it's a worthy bit to do, and it's not. It isn't. I'm not saying put your head in the sand and not be aware, but I'm saying that if you are focusing on something that you cannot directly enhance, make better, and you are letting your life force get sucked such that you are falling behind on creativity, taking your children, taking care of your health, taking care of your mate, taking care of your life, getting yours together. I really invite you all to really check yourself. Where is your attention going? Because otherwise, if you don't know where your attention is going, I guarantee you are a tool for the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
A tool.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. To be very aware of what is drawing your attention. And you're so right because I think about I think about a lot of things, but I do think about technology a lot. And years ago, I wasn't a fan of technology. It wasn't something I was really big in my life. I just I was more of an outdoor nature person. That's kind of where I like being. But I do see that technology does have a good use. I mean, it happened, and I've said this many times on the show, that there is a good point to technology. It does, never at any time in history we had so much information that we can get at our fingertips. Yeah. But how many people are using the tech for that? And you bring up great points that people are, and I agree with this totally. People are in this reactive state, and that's what the Matrix, the programming is designed to do, is keeps you in this reactive state. And you brought it up kind of like with the mask and that, it's a reaction. Yeah. And you have to become aware of what triggers you. And that's another thing where you got to check yourself. And that's what I try to do when something gets me mad or I find myself having a reaction. I usually try to pull back if I catch it, which I'm getting better at doing. And I'll ask myself, why am I having? I like why. I love this question. Why?
Key right there.
Why? Yep.
Become curious about what makes you tick and what makes you flip. Because you don't know these things. You really are. You're just a tool for whatever time waster, energy suck there is, and there are so many things.
It's endless. Yeah.
It's an endless thing, whether, you've got an addiction to food or got an addiction to, we talk technology, addiction to sex, addiction to being right, addiction to being angry, addiction to being depressed and sad. I know that one, where your sorrow, your losses become the focal point of your existence. Woe is me. And you go on and on and on and on with it, which is why I invite everybody. We all have traumas. Mm-hmm. We all got certain dramas. We have all had experiences that are extremely painful that we go to And so I want to make this point because one listeners from our last podcast together contacted me, and she was talking about her main thing about really being angry with her first husband. And this is translated into just enraged at men in general. So this is like a blanket. It's a blanket rage. Mm-hmm. And where it has gotten to the point where she cannot control herself. And she is catching herself going, wait, do I really feel that way? Do I really hate all men? Are all men bad? And so she had an appreciation for like really diving into the rage and the anger and where it was sitting in her body. And this is a woman confessed. She goes, I have put on 250 pounds around my body to shield myself. So this awareness of where our focus attention, whether it's an emotion or whether it's a recurring thought. You know, I hear from a lot of people, I'm unworthy, I'm a loser. How stupid can I be? I mean, he's on and on and on. And this is what the Matrix wants. The Matrix wants you to come down on yourself. The Matrix wants you to ruminate on losses again and again and again. This is why I believe talk therapy, which is mostly happening with Matrix-trained therapists. I'm not saying all therapists are stuck in the Matrix, but the ones who want you to talk about your stuff again and again and again and again and again. All they're just keeping you in the Matrix by ruminating on your traumas over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? So this is why I'm inviting everybody to look at what triggers you. Look at what gets you upset. Look at what freaks you out. Look at what gets your attention where you just are like, you can't do anything else except go to these horrifying places. And I want you to utilize these places, these triggers, these levels of unconsciousness as invitations to wake yourself up and extricate yourself from the outer screen, extricate your attention from your inner screen of those ruminating thoughts and that reactivity, and get back into center. Get back in your center screen, in your awareness center, and just notice what you're witnessing and notice what's going on in your head. Notice what's going on in your body, okay? Because your body is going to be telling you what needs to get cleared. And this is so, so important. And the more that we do this and the more that we practice, the more we actually come alive because we're not zombies anymore. Okay? Right. There's an awareness. You start feeling more and more and more, incrementally speaking, you start feeling more in charge of yourself, and you start actually discovering what you would love to create instead. What would you want to focus your attention? You know, yeah. I really love your opening statement about loving Mondays. I love Mondays too. And
we're rare.
Yeah, I learned how to love Mondays through contrasting experiences, and that's how we learn. We learn through contrasting experiences. We learn how to figure out what good experiences are by knowing what bad experiences are. Okay? Am I right? I mean, this is basic stuff. Yeah. And so with Mondays, I used to find Mondays very, very stressful. And I realized one day where I was thinking, wait, is that really true? And I realized it wasn't true because I have designed my life such that, and it's because of my deep knee-jerk reaction to Mondays, and these reactions didn't necessarily belong to me, but what they did is they provided me the impetus to design my life so that I get to never commute. I get to work out of my house. And I've worked out of my house for decades. Why? Because I spent hours and hours and hours, thousands of hours in the commute lane, doing all kinds of stuff. And traveling all over the country back in the 80s. And it's like, yeah, I really don't want to be doing this. So we learn these little things that are improvements. And I encourage people to discover what these improvements are rather than taking a hammer and just smashing what it is that you can't stand and focusing in on all that. Stop it, kids. Don't do that to yourselves. Really find out what makes you sing, what makes you laugh, what makes you enjoy, what brings you pleasure.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I'm starting to talk about that more too, Marja. And you hit so many great things that I want to build on, because we're talking about the negativity of being when you're in the matrix, and if you're part of the matrix and you're always into the social media. I think of social media a lot, and I think a lot of people get stuck in that one. And if you are in a traumatized state where you're always living in your trauma and letting it run your life, the scary part is that if you go online, you can find it. We were just talking of echo chambers. You can find an echo chamber where there's a whole group of people that will back up your trauma and feed you. That's so dangerous. And you pick your trauma, you can find some chat room or some podcast, something that will back up what you're feeling and keep you in that state living it. So I wanted to bring that up. I think that's so important to be aware that, you got to be mindful of where you're, like you said, putting your attention. And if you are having traumas, and I mean, it's good to talk about it. I get that. I mean, talk about it, but don't live in that state constantly. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. And so, I wanted to bring that up. And it's so true that, when you start waking up, I hate that term, but for the purpose of this, when you start to see the matrix and what is going on and how it is controlling us, and you see the evil that's going on in the world, for me, and I've talked to other people, it's very, very easy to only see the dark. After a while, you only see the dark because you're constantly around it and you're seeking it out. And then in the algorithms, if you're online, it's sending it to you. So you get into this loop where it's always negative, always negative, always negative. Your mind starts to think that way. And I have to sometimes pull myself back and realize that there's a lot of beauty in the world too. There's a lot of great people in the world that care and are trying to change things and are in this purpose. But you have to sometimes pull back and become aware and remind yourself that there is beauty in this world.
Yeah. And that is really important. And I know for myself, the focus of much of my work was working with survivors of trafficking. And I'm talking rape camps. I'm talking generational child trafficking, traveling all over the world to these places that are mostly run by women, by the way, and just like, holy moly. And I felt myself going into a hole, a black hole of despair, of like, I'm getting emotional right, where I would just be so upset, sad, distraught, enraged, where I was making myself ill. And so one of the things that I had to do is I had to find a way to design my work in such a way that I did not have to interface with the dark of the dark of the dark. I am not wired for that. And it took me almost 20 years to be able to extricate myself from that matrix reality. And I thought I was doing good, but what I was doing is I was sacrificing myself. I was sacrificing my own well-being, pushing up against this shit show. It's an evil shit show. It is not fake news. And I know to this day when people tell you that it's fake, and I really do. I want to beat the shit out of these people. And it takes all my will and all my energy to like stop in that moment and clear myself and get myself back to center, because that is not a good place to reside. And not only did I have to do that, but I had to design my work such that I had to figure out what is the best way for my skill set so that I can help more people. You know, is it in law enforcement? Is it in the sting operations? Is it in this whistleblowing stuff? No, because the people that I work with, they all have marks on their foreheads. They're not going to be out in public. They're not going to be on social media bragging about being a survivor. These people want to learn how to wield reality, how to live lives, how to fall in love, how to receive pleasure, how to heal from these horrific mind controls, trauma-based mind controls, from the violence, from the abuse, from the torture and rape. How can I best serve these people? And you know how it was? It was applying the Hermetic principles in addition to doing the trauma deactivation and the de-armoring. Okay, this has been my process of extricating myself out of the horrifying nature of what the Matrix can be. And it hasn't been easy. And to this day, you know, I'll get something disturbing via email. You know, I've had to remove myself from organizations because I can't be part of it. It makes me too upset. And if I'm upset, I can't be conscious about what it is that I'm doing and focus in on the way I need to be doing my work. So doing my work, this is part of doing my work, is having the conversations with souls like you, Rick, who, you know, you're not sensationalizing things. You know, you're being very, very real. You're being very learning. You're offering up solutions in different ways to look at what it is that we're all up against, what it is that we're all invited to learn how to navigate, and to be able to navigate it in a way that is healthy, in a way that champions human creativity and ingenuity, you know.
Yeah, no, it's, and that's what that's a great point is that you're making, Mari, is that you became aware that you had to pull back, and that's the hard part is, as you were saying, is how many people it affects your health and your mental well-being, and people have to realize it starts to take a toll. And so I'm glad that we're kind of talking about this, because it's kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning. You have to learn, and it seems like, and this is what you're doing, is that you have to live in the Matrix, but also know how to. So there's and that's it sounds like to me what you're explaining is that that's what it's taken you, like you said, 20 years to really hone this in. It doesn't happen overnight. This is something that you've had to.
Oh yeah.
You have to, you know. So you go in and you do your work, but you also it's so important that you have to pull back to get out of it. And I think so many people stay in it. And it's just constant, and then that is so unhealthy in so many ways, and we're seeing that. It's expressing out in the world. Yeah,
and what was interesting when I was endeavoring to really, you start learning the difference between what's appropriate for you and what has just crossed the line,
right.
And those lines were not very clear. It was very, very muddy. And of course, you know, when we're talking about, we're talking about when you start working the principles, you're in the real law of attraction, because the law of correspondence, the second principle, as above, so below, from within, so without. I was attracting some of the most messed up, scary situations, traveling internationally, getting in the crosshairs of some very, very bad people where, I've had my life threatened. I've had my life wrecked. And you just realize, wow, this is all on me. And it's on me because my focused attention is in this realm, in the matrix. And it's not making me be very effective in terms of creating a safety, a spaciousness that's safe, create my layer of the universe where I get to work with people, handhold survivors. They get to heal from their traumas. They get to unwind and deactivate, delete their mind control. They get to do all this stuff and learn how to wield reality in such a way that they get to have a happy life after all.
Yeah. That's so
I can't tell you how incredibly fulfilling and gratifying that is to witness people, real people, learn how to wield reality and live lives on their terms.
Yeah.
And that's part of extras from the matrix. That's part of healing, deactivating, de-armoring, trauma-based mind control. It's about learning to wield the principles and learn a difference between the matrix and the true quantum field creation field universe, and really owning your divinity, owning the fact that we are all here, every one of us. Listen up, kids, every one of us, we are here to move formless into form in our own unique way.
That's right. In our own unique way. I say that all the time. Because it's so important. I think that people have to hear that too, is that we're all unique. And I stress this so much, and I'm going to keep doing it because I think a lot of people, like you're saying, Marja, is they get lost and they don't realize how unique they are and that they do have something to offer. They have a gift. I trust that everybody has a gift, something they're amazing at, that they can, and they enjoy doing, they're passionate, they love it. And, it's sad that some people go through their whole life and either they never build upon it, they suppress it for whatever reason, there's many reasons, or they don't embrace it, and I think that's so tragic when that happens because people are so unique in their individual ways, and you can find a way to really embrace your uniqueness and express it in a really positive way. That's going to make differences in the world. And that's the thing that the Matrix loves to do. And the one thing it loves to do is squash, for me, I see it squashing any hope. It wants to keep you in that dark state. And creativity, they want that destroyed, and they want you in this trauma. It's just this fear. I keep saying this too. It's in this fear loop that you just see people constantly in.
Or it's the loop that, because so much Matrix is so celebrity oriented, gobble up all the stuff on celebrities. It's like, who cares? Are you kidding me? And so if it doesn't look like you're hitting celebrity status, well, then you have nothing to offer. And I hear this from people all the time, and it's very, very strange.
It is,
The programming is that, the litmus test is you need to be able to stand next to whatever this matrix thing is and be able to hold your own. It's like, get out of the matrix. Stop. Stop it.
They're more messed up than most people.
Way more. Way more. And a lot of it is really, really fake as well. So to have those kinds of troll standards, that's what I call them, because are these even real people? I mean, we don't know. And so we need to really stop paying attention to what other people are doing. Stop that comparison, the blame shame game. Just stop all that, because those are all tools in the metric that get us to doubt ourselves, to second guess, to just give up before we even attempt to do what it is that is really meant for us, and just prevents us from even attempting.
Yeah. And questioning yourself too. That was another thing that I noticed too, is that people spend like so much time questioning things, you know, like, and I don't mean like questioning what's going on in the world. I mean, like doubting themselves and questioning themselves. They get into this loop too, as well as like, as you said, am I worthy? Good enough? You know, and I've told people many times on this show that, you know, at one time, nobody could be more brutal and say meaner things to me than I did at one time. I was good at it. I could really tear myself down. And that was something I had to pull myself out of. But you have to be aware of it. You have to really sit back and start listening to what you're telling yourself, because I think a lot of what people tell themselves is just bullshit. It's not true.
No, it isn't. It's a big fat lie. And that's the whole thing too. When you start understanding the energetics of the matrix, okay, one of the reasons why the matrix is an inversion is because instead of in the quantum field universe, we're all creating. Instead of creating, we're not creating, we're spectating.
Exactly, yeah.
We're watching everybody else do it. And then we're judging ourselves because we can't do it. And so that's the whole thing. That's the big difference. In the true quantum field creation field universe, we are creators, and we're also transmitters, okay? We are receivers, creators, and transmitters. In the matrix, we're just receivers. We're just sitting there spectating. It's kind of drawing. I'm just watching this. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it's easy to do.
Well, they designed it that way.
Yeah.
They make it easy. They bombard you from every aspect and every little whim that you have. The Matrix will provide it if you want it. Believe me, and they'll just flood you with it.
Yes, and one of the interesting ways is people who are on the dole, people who are on public assistance. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I know a lot of troopers who get down on the system, and this is what they succumb to. And you'll never know it because they would never cop to it, you know. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just going, wow, okay. It's a little hypocrisy to me, but I'm also one of those people where, okay, if you want to uphold your creativity and you're just starting out, I don't see anything wrong with utilizing a system that you have paid into for a little while, but too many people succumb to that reality, and that is their only reality, and they're not going to want to budge from it. It's too easy to just get by. And if you're just by and you're in the matrix, you're watching the boob tube and videos all day long and partying, for some people, that's what they want. That's good enough.
It's good enough.
But most of the people I know, that is not where they want to go. That's not how they want to live. You know, and we have a beautiful planet, and I feel very fortunate that I've made it to many countries. And most people have not made it out of their hometowns. And I find that sad. You know, that is really, really, really sad. Or to not even be in nature, to never be in nature, to be in a city, you know, a 15-minute city. Lord have mercy.
I know, that scares me. Wow.
That scared me. I read about that recently. I kind of knew what it was, but I really didn't. And someone told me, you should read this. And I'm like going, okay. And I was just stunned. I'm going, whoa, okay. That is really, you know, and it just points to the convenience, the laziness
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
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 People actually want, like, you hear people that they support this. They're like, well, everything's going to be close. And what I'm even noticing in my town is that they're starting to have apartment buildings, like these big, tall apartment buildings, and they'll have all these stores on the bottom floor. So they'll have like a little grocery store, they'll have a hair salon, they'll have a nail salon, they'll have, and I'm just like, wow, they're really trying. Now they're trying. Like I think it's going to get worse. Never mind the city. They're going to try to condense it to a building where you never have to leave your building. Could you imagine? Oh my God.
Gods and goddesses are just, oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see them doing it, and I can see people go, well, it's convenient. All right, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've seen what happens to people with convenience, you know, eating out of a box, out of a can, out of a bag, out of plastic. I mean, come on. You know, I love cooking, and so that's kind of like one of my things. And when I was raising kids, that was our thing, is cooking together. And there's just way too many conveniences. So these are more tools of the matrix. And you know, I'm not saying that, you know, you should avoid all of them.
All right, hold on there, Maria. I can't believe the first hour is up, guys. We are already, I know. But we're going to continue off. Just stick around, guys, for this break. Marja West, we will be back hour 2. We're going to kick off with talking about cooking and family and all the good stuff. Stick around, guys.
Revolution Radio, Freedom Slows. Come on, we'll be right back.
Tuning to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this important broadcasting announcement. Now is the time to explore your greatest potential, embracing truth, health, and wellness while distorting the system and exposing its corruption. Experience true freedom every Saturday night between 6 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live from Studio B, it's the Jonathan Wright Show. Find it right here at revolution.radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on public means for expanding its influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1. And folks, I assure you, we are in Protection Mission 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in, and I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the unequivocal truth. DEFCON 1.
The original machine had a base plate of pre-famulated amulite, surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing, in such a way that the two spurting bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fan. The lineup consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes. so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus-O deltoid type placed in panendermic semi-boloid slot with stator. Every seventh conductor being connected by a non-reversible tremie pipe to the differential girth end of the gram meters.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio, taking the confusion out of transmutated lunar girdle springs for 4 years and running. Revolution Radio, the #1 listener-supported alternative media radio on the planet. All right. Thanks so much. I wanted to take a short break here at Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Welcome back, everybody. That was a quick little break, and wow, a great first hour. We covered so much. My guest, Marja West. I did leave a link, guys, in the chat to her YouTube channel. Please, Love, Truth, and Beauty. Go check it out. She dives way deeper into these topics that we're covering here. We only have 2 hours, as you guys know, so it's hard to really dive in to these in depth. But she does a beautiful job on her channel, and you're going to see all the videos she has up there. Covers so much. We learn so much, and it's really going to get you thinking and questioning and in the right direction, I think. So please check it out. I will leave a link also at the end of the show. I will again leave links so you can go and check all of her work out. But diving into the matrix, like I said at the beginning of the show, guys, we all hear this. You know, people say that we're living in a matrix, we're living in a simulation, blah, blah, blah. You know, we hear this. And then I always want to ask, like, what does that even, like, really, what does that mean? What are we really living in? And so I think it's a great topic that we're diving into here. And when I think of the matrix, I think of what it, for me, I see it as something that is constantly destroying, and what it is trying to destroy. And it's totally by design by these powers that should not be running the show, but are. And there's, you know, these demonic forces, they're truly evil, what are running the world. And it's always this inversion, as Marja was saying. It's this destruction that they want to do, and you see it around you. What are they doing? What are they adding? What are they creating? Nothing. That's the one thing about evil. It can never create. It never creates anything. It just perverts it and twists it and manipulates it, but it doesn't create anything. And what is it doing now? It's attacking so much in the world. You see attacking the family structure. You see it attacking, it's attacking genders, like, name it. It's just attacking anything that is positive, and that's what it wants to tear down. And we were talking about in the first hour. It wants people in this fear loop and in this reactive state. And look, being honest, what are they in? A lot of people are in that fear reactive state. They're not consciously thinking things through, or they're not using the trivium to think things through. They're not taking a step back. It's just react. And that is not the place you want to be. It's not the place I want to be. And I'm as guilty as anyone for still slipping off the path once in a while and reacting. And I catch myself. I'm catching myself a lot more, like I did with my phone. That was a big moment for me when I realized that it's a simple thing, but when you realize it, it's like, wow. And then you can change things once you become aware of it. And I was aware of it. So now I'm very conscious of how much time I'm spending on this phone. Like I'm putting it down and putting it away. Like the world will go on. I don't need my phone strapped to me 24/7. Thank God it was part of a generation where we didn't have all this tech. So I think I'm blessed that way. And I think Marja would agree we're blessed that we had kind of had this moment in time where there wasn't all these cell phones, and the world went on fine. Like it didn't end. Phone calls were made. People were still in contact. I think there was a lot more human contact, and not so much of what we're seeing like now is all Skype and all these things, which have their place. I get it. But we're fortunate, Marja, we saw a time when they didn't have all this tech. But would you agree that that's what this matrix does? To me, it just seems to destroy. It doesn't create. What does it create? Nothing.
Absolutely. And it's literally killing people slowly.
Yep.
Through the convenience of allowing people to, during the COVID, that 7-19, as I say, because I want to say it. I remember people just bragging about Instacart and bragging about having booze dropped off at their houses. And like, wow, really? You can actually do that. And so before we took the break, I mean, I brought up the whole thing about cooking.
That's,
Eating is a big deal. And one of the biggest tools in the matrix is fast food, junk food, just all these convenience foods, and then having things delivered so you don't even have to move your ass, or sitting in, sitting in the takeout line or the drive-through. You don't even have to get out of your car. And it's frightening to me. And here I go with my judgment. But yeah,
it is frightening. Yeah, I agree with you. Because
really,
you could technically, I truly believe this, Mario, you could truly never leave your house now. If you really, you could do that. You could have your food delivered, your medicine, which you're going to need if you're stuck in the house, I think. Like you could truly never leave your house. They made it that convenient. But what are you really getting? Like you said, fast food. And that was the thing about COVID that really, I'm going to go on a rant. So I got to check myself because it just gets me so mad. And I kept saying that during this whole COVID shit, is that, you know what I mean? All these essential businesses, what was essential? Who was even making that decision? What was essential? And it bothers me because I grew up in a town that had so many family businesses that are destroyed now, gone for good. And then you have all these big companies that apparently were essential. So you got all these big stores like Walmart and all these big stores that could stay open. Weed stores could stay open. Liquor stores could stay open. But then a mom and pop shop, nope, gotta close. And that it shows you what they're up against, what we're up against, and how evil it is.
Really criminal.
And then and then during this process, I was going to add is they have everything delivered. So no, you don't even have to leave your house. You got to be safe. We're going to deliver everything. So we'll deliver you trash food and booze and whatever you need to anesthetize yourself, so you don't even see what's going on around you.
And these are all tools for the matrix. The fast food, the junk food, the sugar, the caffeine, the alcohol, the trans fats. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Because here's the thing. The matrix knows that with fast food and junk food, a human mind is not going to be properly fed. There's no nutrition. If you're not getting good nutrition, your body's going to suffer. Your mind is going to suffer. You're not going to be able to think properly, let alone apply the principles. You can't even get out of bed. And so I just watch all of this stuff and just how intertwined and the play of it, the theater that happens when, for myself, and I'm sure you witnessed this too, waltzing in a matrix, where most people, they don't even notice you because they're so quick to gobble up like the next shit show, matrix shit show, or gobble up their fast food as fast as they can, or drink their really expensive coffee, take their booze shots, whatever it is, and it's like human consciousness starts dropping deeper and deeper below consciousness. And this is what they want. And it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. I mean, you talk about the vaccines, keep falling for the donut. I mean, I was reading that when I first read that. I thought it was a joke. I really did. I thought it was a joke. And then there was this video of these people lining up for donuts to get the latest version of the vaccine. I'm thinking, oh, dear God. And they're bringing their kids and everything. And I'm like, wow, okay. This is what we're looking at here. And so, if we can start reanalyzing our own trajectories in terms of our levels of consciousness, what makes us fall asleep, and I get it. It is exhausting to keep track of all of it.
It is.
It's exhausting. And it's demoralizing when you really start seeing how well maintained matrix shit shows are and the shitstones, and how they just go on. They go on, and so many people are so backing these things up without question, without challenging, You know, I mean, there's no conversation to be had because they're literal zombies. So to catch ourselves in the process of dipping below consciousness, I think is really important.
I agree.
It's kind of a funny way to say it, you know, but it's like, yeah, it's not so funny. I don't think it's that funny.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I was giggling about the donut thing, and I kind of chuckled, but then I just immediately I was like, that's sad. Like this, I should be laughing. I mean, it is funny when you think about how bad people have gotten, but then I'm just like, wow. Like then I immediately think that's how bad we've gotten.
Yeah.
Like it's not a laughing matter.
Exactly. But the alternative to doing the research and making the best possible choice, you know, I mean, it's also convoluted so much because we give our authority to so many things outside ourselves. You know, the inner sovereignty, that inner monarchy of your inner king and inner queen, you know, we're not well practiced in that. So, of course, we're just going to hand over authority to the so-called experts and the science. It makes me insane. So, you know, that's one of my triggers. But I also, with my science background, have learned to think critically and also learned to be my own authority. And, you know, it's not so easy to do because, you know, we're trained that there is comfort in numbers. You know, there's comfort in an echo chamber and in a mob and in some kind of totalitarian thing because you don't have to stand on your own. So that's part of those of us who want to extricate the matrix. You're going to be standing on your own. Your family's not going to like a lot of what you come across or what you learn. Our friends are not going to like it very much. Society isn't going to like it very much because society, the matrix, is mainly conformity. So it's a tall order to not conform, just like it is a tall order to not succumb to your PTSDs and not identify with them. Because that's what a lot of therapy wants to do, is have you identify with them and, ooh, you know, yeah, I get that for you. And, you know, it's so deceptive. And you have to be aware enough to catch the sort of manipulation that happens, especially when the matrix is on to the fact that you're getting ready to make the jump over to the other side. So I wanted to bring that up because, and I get asked this a lot, is that people notice that when they become more and more and more consciousness, that their world starts to crumble. Well, yes, of course it starts to crumble because you're actually cleaning house when you start to become more and more aware of how you set your life up for the sake of convenience, out of habit, out of unconscious repetition, and not questioning reality, not challenging it. So things are going to start to fall apart, and our relationships start falling apart when we access more and more and more of our true nature and more of our consciousness, because we're no longer falling for the status quo. We are no longer falling for mob rules. We're not falling for, just kind of like staying under the wire so you don't get noticed.
That's so powerful what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true what you're saying, and people need to hear that. And you know, sometimes to rebuild you have to tear down the old, and that is definitely something in my journey that has happened here and there, and it comes kind of in waves as my consciousness rises and I move higher. you start to notice things falling away, and that could be people, and you're right, it could be your own family members.
Yeah.
There's going to be some loss involved in this, but I also met incredible people along the way. So I don't want people to realize that. I think when they start losing, they're like, oh my God, like this is horrible. I'm losing everything. But you are, it seems that way, but you're going to gain so much if you stay the path. You're going to attract the good things as you continue. But you have to have the courage to, like you said, not be part of a group. And that's what the Matrix does. You see it all the time with protesting and all these groups that people are just all these mob groups, and they're all supporting something that really, I don't even think they know what they're supporting. They're just like, oh,
what they're saying.
No, they're just like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So it takes courage to, like you said, you're gonna poke your head up there. Then what does the Matrix do? You poke your head up, it's gonna hammer it back down if it can.
It's gonna try to do that because you're not conforming. You're not following your agreement, so to speak. Yeah. And that's the whole thing, is that you're not part of that club. You're not part of that echo chamber where you're no longer one of those flying monkey sycophants, those yes people that just say yes to everything because it's cool and you're going to be part of the beautiful people. In the meantime, you're aging prematurely because your soul knows that you suck. Yeah. And you're not being truthful. So, these are these very poignant moments of realization where you have to take stock and start being honest with yourself about what you're up to and also what you're not up to.
That's tough for people. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially when you notice how complicit you are to evil. Okay? Because I assure you, my friends, there is no such thing as the devil. There's no such thing as Satan. Okay? Those demons, those entities are low frequencies that take over people. They take over the hearts of humans, and the hearts of humans look the other way, and they do really shitty, evil things. That is the evil, and we are all capable of it.
Mm-hmm. We are. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, the devil made you do it. There is no devil. It's you. You're doing it.
And people don't like to point the finger right at themselves. It's so much easier to point it outwardly. Yeah. It's easier, and they actually promote that. You know what I mean? Like it's always someone else's fault or some other circumstance or whatever. But it's hard to point that finger squarely where it belongs. Most of the time is at yourself.
Yeah.
And people don't like to hear that, but it's just the truth. It's just.
And the irony of that, Rick, is that for myself, I think it's easier to point it at me because I can make the change. When you point it at other people, you have to change all those people. And then you're really in trouble because you can't do it. It's impossible. It's not going to happen. But you take charge of yourself and you start focusing in on your layer of the universe. And, this is one of the beautiful things about the Hermetica. And the first principle of mentalism is that when you start rocking that, you got the keys to the universe, my friends. And it's free. When you can think properly and wield reality, knowing that everything that materializes first is real in imagination, that is powerful. We all have that capability. That is our true divine creative nature. And the Matrix wants us to actually believe we're just mere humans. We can't do shit.
Yeah, that isn't that true. Yeah, and it's like, well, and you hear this from other people too, is I'm just one person. Like, what can I do? And you hear that a lot. And to me, it's just like, you can do it. To me, and I've said this a few times in the past, is that, just open a history book and you're going to see that many great things that have happened started with one person.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a group that all of a sudden got like just one group just instantly there and it just happened. Somebody had to make that stand. and actually start the process. And so I think one person can do amazing things, incredible things, powerful things.
Yeah. And that's so cool.
I think
That
it,
is
yeah.
so cool. Human ingenuity, human creativity, just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's what the Matrix fears. They fear, and you see it. And I was saying that at the beginning of this hour, is that that's what this evil in the world does. It doesn't create. It just warps beauty.
Yeah.
In so many ways, that's what it wants to do, and pervert it. And they've done a great job. Look at the state of so much in the world, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and people have to realize that's where. And then once you start doing the work on yourself, and that's so important. I always say that. I know probably people listening are like, "Oh my God, he's a broken record on that," but it's just because it's so important. This work that people, I think it's what most people are missing. I think they're like, I'm doing things. I'm really trying to do things the right way, and I'm not trying to hurt people in that. But they're still not doing their most important foundational work. Is that you have to be honest with yourself and be checking on yourself and calling your own bullshit out, which is hard for people to do.
Yeah.
They're good at lying to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it is so supported in the Matrix. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Or to get just so. I mean, I know people who've been in therapy for 30 years, and that have one session with you. And I turn the screws. You get to tell your story once, and that's it. And we're going to create a map. You're going to create a map of how you want your life to go. And that notion, just the notion of putting thought into the various sectors of your life, the various categories, that is like, I watch people and you think their heads are going to explode because they have never, ever spent 5 seconds thinking about what they really want to create. They don't even know the qualities of what their ideal life would be. And that's the whole point in the Hermeticum, is to figure that out. Figure that out, applying right way of thinking to mold reality from your imagination into materialization. That's what this is. The Matrix doesn't want you to figure that out. The Matrix wants you to go into debt to buy shit you don't need because it's saying you need this to make your ass happy. It's not true, kids. It's a lie.
Yeah, it really is. And you make a great point. Like 30 years of therapy, what they want to do is keep, it seems to me, and because you would know this way better than I do, but from what I've learned, it seems to me is that they want to keep people in that trauma state. And you make a great point that you let people, like you said, tell me your story, and that's good. So you kind of got a foundation, but then you're like, okay, now let's make a path of what you want. That's powerful. And you're probably right. How many people actually have sat down and really, truly thought about what they want, what are their goals, what are their inspirations, how are they going to get this? But, the Matrix wants you in the trauma loop. Let's keep going and looking at this trauma. How many times you got? 30 years of looking at it?
Yeah.
I think you've looked at it.
They're saving their journals. I do also space clearing, feng shui space clearing, because in many ways, our homes, the places that we live in, are extensions of our physical bodies, our souls. And you could not believe it. I walked into one room and there was literally a wall, a giant wall. I think the wall had to be 20 feet long. And it was this woman's journal collection from when she was in her, like, maybe teens, and she was 75. And told her, pick that one, like when she was young, and pick one of your latest ones. And she was surprised that the themes were the same. And so her homework was to burn every one of those in a fire ceremony and let go. Because if you're keeping that stuff around, why? Why are you keeping it around? I'm sure it's not even all that great reading.
Well, it sounds like it's the same thing that she's been writing. If she picked the first journal and the last one, she's just repeating.
Yes. So I always tell people, don't save these things, burn them. That's what I do. I keep a journal and I burn them. At the end of the book, I burn them. They go into a pit, goodbye, and they get transmuted. I don't want to be repeating.
So that's right. Yeah. Cause I mean, for me, I like to write too. And I like to journal and I like to get my thoughts out. And that's probably it seems like a really healthy thing to do because really the journals I've had from before, I've never really even looked at. I kind of write down my thoughts and then when that journal is done, I get a new one and I start writing in that one.
Yeah, get rid of them, kids.
Get rid of them.
Get rid of them. Unless, of course, I have idea journals for like my ideas and that kind of thing. That's a different thing. But if you're just sitting there chucking all the things that are wrong, or getting down on your relationships and you haven't figured out why they haven't changed, I would say it's a safe bet. You should have a fire ceremony and let that go. Offer it up to the universe, transmuted, so that you can bring in new stuff.
So, and you bring up a good point too. You got me thinking now, Murray, that about people's state of their houses and that, and it's probably a reflection of maybe the chaos going on inside of them. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Absolutely. Clutter is a very good indicator of chaos, and also not being able to let go of stuff. And I know this really well. I have over 300 plants, and so people will come to my house and think, "Holy moly, it's a jungle." And I have a lot of books, and surprisingly, I don't have that many clothes. People are shocked. My girlfriends who come visit me are often shocked at how very little clothing I have because I got quality. So a lot of the stuff that I've had for decades, and there's still. I don't go with the fashion trends, so it's pretty good in that respect. But one of the things that I had a hard time letting go of was just stuff for my kids. Like, oh my God! And of course, do they want them? Hell no! Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. And so that's been. I'm a sentimental fool in a lot of respects. So. I had to own that stuff about me, and it's like I still have stuffed animals from when they were tiny, when they were small kids, and I'm like I had quite gotten there, but it's not like it's a big box. It's just a few items, but they're in my office closet, and I'm like, hi, hi kids, but you see what I mean. But I don't have photos. I don't have a lot of photos. I have statuaries from my travels, and crystals and things. But so things are meaningful.
Right.
But a lot of people, like I've gone and done clearings for people. I mean, there's a stack of newspapers or a stack of mail from like 7 years ago. I mean, it's like, what? Stop! Like, clean it up. And just that alone is like, wow. It's so freeing. So
it really is.
Yeah. And of course, the Matrix has a lot of blame and shame games that are like active, that keep us in that sort of secrecy bit where we have so much shame around our houses. We have so much shame around our traumas, so much shame around, not being able to think straight, not being able to, not knowing how to cook a meal. The very, very basics of self-care, and in the Matrix, self-care looks like spending $12K on spa treatments. That's what it looks like. It's like, no, dude, it's about creating a life and creating self-care where you don't feel like you have to escape and, you know, spend that kind of money. I mean, it's kind of fun to do it if you can, but have to be able to do that and then wreck yourself trying to get there, that doesn't make any sense to me.
And a lot of people do that, right? Like, how many people just they don't enjoy anything, right? That's a thing that you see a lot of people too, right? And this is part of the destruction that we were kind of talking about, is you see that what's suffering is family relationships, and people doing what they truly want to do because they're just in this endless loop of work, and there's no joy. I mean, how can you have joy if you're constantly in this matrix and slaving away for things that really, to have the latest thing that doesn't really matter?
Yes.
When you think about it, you know, and I think about this a lot too, and it's probably because I'm getting older. I'm thinking about it like when it's all said and done, and I hopefully when I do pass, I'm gonna have that. I'll have time to reflect, and I always ask myself, like, what is gonna matter to me at that moment? Like that moment when it's all said and done, and you're on your deathbed, and your life has been lived, and you're on this bed, and you're thinking back. And I want to, and like, how many people are going to think back, like, of all shit the time they wasted on stuff that doesn't mean anything. It didn't bring any joy. It didn't bring any, it didn't help anyone. It didn't nurture anyone. And how many people are going to, if they're honest, they're going to be at that point where they're just like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm hoping that when I get to that point, I can say, at least I tried to do this, and I tried to do that. And maybe I didn't get there, but I tried.
Yeah.
You know, I just think that's important.
You made the commitment.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what it is that people are, you know, they're so beaten down. And that's part of what the Matrix does. It destroys human creativity. It destroys compassion. It turns people into narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. I mean, there's an upticking of that because of social media, because of the internets and the interwebs, is that it's just too easy to be a grifter. And it's too easy to lie and get away with it. There's no accountability. You can make a profile and put a fake photo over there, and people are going to think that's you. Yeah. I mean,
and then they hide behind a fake name, and then you're next thing you know, you're immersed in all this negativity, because that's usually what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is that you're just in these chat rooms causing, and then you start feeding off of that. This negative loop that you get into, where you got to go and kind of get your fix, and then you become addicted to that, which is where people get stuck, right? You get into this negative reinforcement, and then it's like an addiction. You need that fix. To go and cause it. And I think when people just get back, and I was saying, like, when it's all said and done, what really matters, like, what's really going to matter at that moment is, to me, I think family is huge. And I think what you put out in the world, what you're leaving for the people, the children coming up behind you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you leaving? It's got to be something worth it. It's like, I mean, and how many people sit around going, why am I here? What is the point of all of this? Like, and I think I believe it's to make it better than leave it better than when you leave. It's better than it was when you were here.
Right. And that is part of, I think, one of the major hurdles that when we start extricating ourselves from the matrix and start working the Hermetic principles, that we need to be very wary of. Because Matrix has it that success is going to be reflected outside of you in the outer screen with, billboards, being famous and having 1 million followers, blah, blah, all that stuff. And the thing is that to extricate the matrix, you cannot fall for what the circumstances are in your life or in the matrix. You cannot let your attention be hijacked by any of that, such that it reflects your worth, it reflects your success. It does not. And this is one of the hardest ones, the hardest hurdle in terms of the Hermetica with the first principle is to align yourself with your divinity within your truth, not outside of yourself. Because we're always looking outside ourselves to reflect our worth. We're doing good, that we're da-da-da-da, which is why, feedback and communication is important.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to stand on our own is to be able to reside in that divinity of our inner monarchy, our autonomy, our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is not outside us, it is within us. And that is a real hard one for most people to get. They can spew it out, yeah, I'm sovereign, and yet, they're going
Miserable.
crazy.
Yeah.
Miserable. It's like, okay, if you were really working that, you could not be miserable. Which is why people go, well, if I'm going to be creating reality, what should I focus on? Do I focus on little things? Do I focus on big things? I like focusing on feelings, emotions. I like being ecstatic and joyful, because what ecstatic and joyful are for me is that I can't be ecstatic and joyful if there's a shit show going on in my life or I'm focusing in on one.
Yes.
Ecstatic and joyful includes all the little things and all the big things that are important to me. Family is very, very important to me. And that has been one of my focal points in the last 4 years, now that I materialized an amazing partner. How did that happen? It's like, because I was very, very clear in terms of contrasting experiences, what I did not want. And it isolated. I had to isolate. I had to just clear all that stuff out. And, we talked about this during one or two of our previous conversations, where, just doing the practice of conscious celibacy is a necessity to clear out all of your PTSDs. And for me, that was a necessary modality that I had to move through so that I could stand on my own and not be in that mindset that because I don't have a boyfriend, I'm not having sex with somebody, there must be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing. Having sex is easy. That can happen anytime. But do I want that? No, of course not. You want quality. And that's what I was really focusing my attention on, is being the best person that I could be inside and out, to be able to materialize and get matched up with a man who matches that intention. And we just happen to have the same values. So family values, the same morality, the same outlook of creativity, the same worldview, the same ability to focus in on what's important and, blow off, ignore the rest.
Yeah, that's so important. And how many people, you make great points, because I like talking about this topic because how many people gauge think that they have to have somebody. So, to have worth. And I know people like this. I've had, I only say this because I've had people in my life come and go that they base a lot of their worth on having somebody. If they don't have a partner, then they don't feel worthy. They don't feel they need. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Yeah, it's like you need to do self-worth, and I'm just like, shouldn't you be getting that from yourself? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
That's basic. That comes first.
It has to. It has to come first. It doesn't all the time. I think a lot of people haven't got there, but yeah, it's just really fascinating how a lot of people do that. And you make a great point too about how you look to, how the Matrix wants you to judge your self-worth and your success on all this stuff that you have. And we made a great point that, you look at all these celebrities and and we were saying it earlier, they're train wrecks. They're not happy people. They have everything in the world. They have anything but it. Yeah. But they're missing something huge because they're miserable people, most of them.
Yeah.
They're 10 marriages, 5 marriages, can't keep a relationship for longer than a couple of years. They got kids that don't like them. Families are falling apart. Like, really? That's what you're striving to?
Yeah. It's not a good template, that's for sure.
Exactly. I agree.
And so, I really want to encourage all the listeners to really take stock. And here we are, it's a brand new year. And I think this is a good opportunity for all of us to take stock of our lives and investigate with curiosity. Just the various categories, like self-care, health, spirituality, family, relationships, finances, home, creativity, travel, fitness, all these categories that I just called out. Mm-hmm. Think about these in terms of maybe some of these aren't important to you. Maybe they are. And spend some time, make some time, pour yourself a beer or a glass of wine or have some tea or coffee or something and contemplate each one of these headings, these categories, and write down the values, the sort of qualities that you would love for your ideal life. And spend time focusing on these things. And, everything that's materialized happened first in imagination. Everything, even a shit show. So why not spend some time, make some time focusing, what it is that you want to create, your ideal life. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Who's in it? What do you look like? What are you wearing? What are you doing? Who are you hanging out with? What kinds of things are you feeding yourself? All that kind of stuff. These are important things that reveal consciousness in terms of just not living on autopilot.
Yeah. And I think when I as I hear you list these things too, Marja, I think it's so important too, because you have to get right with yourself and get healthy with yourself before you can go out and battle. You go into battle and and go and you want to start making change in the world for the first you have to be healthy, and you bring up great things like you have to kind of focus, take inventory of your health, and maybe people need to start listening more to themselves and their inner being telling them, because I agree with you. I think that our bodies tell us things, and we've just become we don't listen anymore in a lot of ways. We're not in touch with that anymore. And I think there's so many, like I said, so many distractions, and life seems to move so quick that people don't check in with themselves and really listen and trust themselves.
Yes.
So I think that, you have to do this work on yourself before you can, how you can make change out there if you're not, if you're sick.
Yeah. You won't be able to, because you're going to be focused in on your pain, your suffering, or trying to navigate some kind of shitstorm or hope alternative on how to remedy that and turn it around. And so, we are so creative. Humans are very, very creative. We've just kind of forgotten how creative we are.
Yeah, I so agree. I think that's so important. And it's what the Matrix wants to destroy, is that creativity. It really does. It fears it. And I think it really fears people starting to really understand how powerful they are, and that we can make a difference. One person I'll keep saying that, can make a difference. And that's so important, I think, for people to hear, is that, you might be the one that you don't know. You could be the one that starts something amazing.
Exactly.
And that really catches fire and it starts something and it could be something so simple, but you have to have the courage to stand up against this system. And I will stand up with you, and I have been, and I will continue to do it till my dying day, because I think I would think you would even agree. I'm tired of this shit show that we're in, and they just keep taking. Yeah, they just keep taking, destroying, taking, and people have to finally say enough, but you have to get right with yourself and do the work on yourself too, which is so important, and then get out there and get that information out there, because it's out there.
Yeah.
There's so many people and that are that think like we are. I know there's people out there that are like that. They just don't really know where to start or whatever the case may be, but they're out there. Yeah. There's good people out there.
There is really, really good people, really great people. And that's the thing, is that once you really start getting in tune with what it is that you want to create and what your life looks like in imagination, the universe, true quantum field creation field universe, will propel you. I swear to the gods and goddesses, will propel you through the different sectors of reality in the true quantum field creation field universe, where you get to meet up with your ideal self and your ideal life. And it almost happens without lifting a finger. I know that sounds weird, but my experience, time and time again, has been exactly like that, where there's an unfolding that happens, one foot in front of the other. I'll meet this person, or somebody will send me this, or somebody will call me, or, it's like that. It's so cool when that happens. You and I, Rick, this is part of it. We're interfacing each other's realities right now. And, you have been part of my expansion in terms of the work that I do, the things that I want to share and say. I don't want to browbeat people. Sometimes it comes across that I am, because I get really frustrated when I see human creativity being squandered or being squashed by these low vibe entities that are feeding off of human creativity in the matrix. And that's what they do. They feed off of your allegiance. If you're contributing more to a celebrity's success than your own, wake up.
Exactly.
Truly.
I call them energy vampires. That's what I call them.
Exactly.
They just feed off you. You can feel it. It's so noticeable. And you make a good point too about the universe will provide. And it sounds, like you said, it sounds kind of too easy. But when you're on the right path, things just seem to, as you need them, they appear. And I've heard people say that, and at one time, years ago, and I was like, what are they talking about? Like, things just appear, and it's like, no, when you're on the right path, and I'm sure everybody at one point or another can relate to what we're saying. There's been a time where, things are happening the way they should, and it just seems to fall into place.
Yeah.
And that's the universe, I really truly believe, is giving you what you need. And I think back to all the great things that have happened in my life. It wasn't forced.
Yeah.
It was very kind of eased into it. I don't know how to explain it.
Synchronistic.
Yeah, that's a good word. Perfect.
A flow. There's a flow. That is one of my priorities. That's another thing to consider. What are your priorities? What are you focusing your attention on, and what are your priorities? One of my big priorities is flow. I love flow. And I come from a very disciplined background. I also have Capricorn rising, which tends to make me a very, very taskmaster and very goal-oriented. Yeah.
So, Capricorn too.
The Matrix loved me, man, because I was constantly producing, but I was wearing myself out. So, like over the weekend, what did I do? What did I do yesterday? I watched 4 movies with the Scotsman. So, it's like, I never do that, but I loved it. We sat by the fire, made food, and that's what we did. Yeah. Holy moly, we watched it snow and snow and snow and snow. And, so figuring out what flow is for you, like flow for me is a balance. It's a work, life, balance, creativity. I play music. I got a grand piano in my dining room. I'm a retired musician. I'm into it. I've got like 8 guitars. I'm into them. So what is all this? I feel mostly that I'm just kind of like effing off in my life because I do things that I love to do. If I hate it, there's no way I'm doing it. I just don't.
Yeah. And that's that balance that you were talking about at the beginning of this show. Like we were saying, to wrap it right back to the beginning, is how do you exist in this? Because I have to know when to have the ability to enter it and pull out of it. And I think that's a great point that you're saying. Like you do your work, you do tons of content. You're always putting stuff out there and positive information and really trying to help people. But you're also knowing to pull back. I don't think you're steep in it 24/7. I know you're not.
Well, and that was one of the changes that I made last year at the beginning of my YouTube channel, season 4. We just started season 5 last week. Wow. And so last year I decided, because I was doing twice a week videos for 3 years and I was burnt. It's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. I was getting mad. I was getting frustrated. And I decided I'm not going to do it. I'm going to upload whenever I feel inspired. Right. And so instead of 104 videos last year, I did 3. And guess what? I doubled my subscribership doing less. And, I'm working with more people one-on-one in terms of doing the shadow work because I have more time to do it rather than sit there, feeling this pressure and this obligation to pump out 2 videos a week. Yeah. And, it's a lot. I don't even edit. Yeah. I write it out. I go. That's it. And if I mess up, I make a mistake. There it is for the sake of posterity. I don't hide. I don't edit any of that stuff. I'm not going to put on any false airs and oops, I messed up. I'm not covering it up. It's like, yeah, I did. I said it.
God, if you were trying to edit all of that, you would have had no life.
No way. I have a private practice and I teach. So, I was able to open up my life where I had all these practitioner candidates come and travel to me to train with me. So I was able to open up to do a whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. Plus, writing for Brains magazine. There's just all these things that I love doing that you need to make time to do that.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the time where. Go ahead. I'll let you finish up.
It is. Wow.
I know. I was just going to say, I just looked at the timer. I'm like, wow, I wish I had another hour. I always say that. Just to wrap it up, I want to give you the last 2 minutes. Where can people find all of your content? I already put a link for your YouTube channel. I will do it again. Is there any other sites that you want people to?
My website is LoveTruth&Beauty.com. And I'm putting a call out there. I want to change up that website, and I'm not good at that sort of thing anymore. I really don't want to do open source. So if anybody's out there and has any information for me or a lead for me, let me know. You can just hit me up on the YouTube or on my website or on the Facebook. Really super, super easy to get hold of me. I'm a nice person. I don't bite hard, and I'm really easygoing. I mean,
For
most
sure.
people who know me, I'm really pretty chill, but I'm an old lady. So, it's like, I just don't get riled up about stuff. I roll
Exactly.
without moving my eyes. So,
Well, I made sure I put your website in the chat room. I did put your YouTube channel back out. So guys, please go check out Marja's work. You will be thankful that you did. She covers so much of what we covered and goes way more in depth. So, I mean, we had 2 hours to really kind of, what is the Matrix? I think we did a great job, Marja, coming and, at least breaking it in and hopefully got people thinking and realizing that they, if we are part of this Matrix, which we seem to be, there is a way to enter it and get out of it and pull back and, focus in on a lot of things that matter. So I want to thank you so much for once again. When I get you back in a couple more months, we were talking, I'd love to get you back.
And you're gonna get on my channel next month. So conversations with men. Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great week. I will be back Thursday. Take care, Marja. Thank you.
You listening to Revolution Radio.